Okay, so get ready, because today we're going deep on something pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a white paper, and it's basically like a roadmap for how humanity could become like a Type 1 civilization,
Yeah.
Like full-on control all the energy on the planet kind of stuff.
Exactly. We're talking Kardashev scale.
Right, a
Yeah.
civilization's energy use shows how advanced they are.
And type 1 means they've harnessed all the power their planet's got,
Ambitious.
for sure. And get this white paper is from a blockchain company called Morpheus Thinks.
Blockchain folks thinking big picture, huh?
Oh, yeah, they go there. They even bring up the Fermi Paradox.
Oh, where is everyone else?
Silence from space. Spooky.
Right. Makes you wonder if maybe civilizations hit a point, just self-destruct before they can reach out to others.
Like a universal filter keeping anyone from getting too big.
Exactly. But Morpheus seems to think we can break that cycle.
Optimistic.
Well, they got to be to propose what they do. So one of their starting points is a merger between the U.S. and U.K.
Whoa, hold up now. That's getting political, isn't it?
Ah, that's what I thought too. But they're not actually endorsing it. It's more like a thought experiment, a model for how global integration could really work.
So less America and more like a transatlantic superpower has step one.
Exactly. So walk me through this. What benefits do they see in this mega nation?
Well, first off, the economy would be nuts, streamlined trade, no more regulations between them, just massive economic power.
Plus, you combine the financial giants, London and Wall Street, that's going to stabilize things globally, right?
Oh, yeah, big time. But it goes beyond just money. This alliance, they say, could set global standards for tech, especially AI stuff.
Oh, that's huge. Like setting the rules of the road for the whole digital world.
Yep. They think whoever figures out AI governance first will basically shape humanity's future. And this unified nation could be it.
They really go all in on AI, huh?
Yeah.
They even talk about using it for global governance, like conflict resolution, climate action, all that.
Yep. Networked states, they call it. All these societies linked up by super advanced AI working on the planet's problems together.
Sounds both awesome and kind of scary at the same time.
Right. But they don't ignore that. They actually address the big concern with global stuff. Surveillance.
Ah, the S word.
Yeah.
So how do they plan on handling that?
They call it equitable surveillance for stability.
Okay, so is that just fancy talk for cameras everywhere?
Not quite. It's more like using AI for security and to fight corruption, but with rules to make it fair and prevent abuse.
So what makes it equitable then?
Well, they say you got to have strong laws to protect individual rights. That's the foundation.
So limits on what data can be collected.
Exactly. And they're big on transparency. Everything's got to be open for people to see, and there'd be checks and balances to make sure it's not being misused.
Interesting. And they bring up blockchain too,
Right?
for stuff like voting and making democracy more transparent.
Right. They think blockchain can make voting totally secure and tamper-proof. Every vote would be verifiable.
Wow. But wouldn't something this big, this global, be crazy hard to pull off?
Oh, absolutely. The paper doesn't shy away from that. They know there'd be tons of logistical and political hurdles.
So how do they even think we can bridge that gap? What steps do they see as crucial to actually make this Type 1 leap?
Well, that's where they get into this idea of civilizational leapfrogging.
Leapfrogging. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that all about?
Basically using emerging tech to fast-track our progress and solve the world's problems. They highlight four main areas: AI governance, fourth industrial revolution tech, seamless human movement and trade, and planetary sustainability initiatives.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down there. Unpack some of that for me. What exactly are fourth industrial revolution technologies, and how do they fit into all this?
Think of it like the next wave of tech building on everything digital. We already got AI, blockchain, quantum computing, even biotech.
Okay, so seriously advanced stuff.
Right. Morpheus Thinks says we got to master these if we want to connect the world and manage resources, like a true Type 1 civilization.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about how we use it.
Exactly. They say it's got to be guided by ethics and focused on what's good for everyone, not just a few.
Okay, so what about us regular folks then? How do they see our lives changing in this high-tech future?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. They propose a universal basic income UBI managed by AI and a decentralized currency.
Whoa, UBI. That's a pretty radical idea, especially on a global scale.
Right. But they say as AI and automation take over more jobs, we'll need a new way to make sure everyone can still live a decent life.
So this UBI would be like a safety net powered by AI.
Exactly. And they think blockchain can ensure it's all fair and transparent.
This is a lot to take in,
Mm.
but it's definitely fascinating. Makes you think about what the future could hold.
It does. It challenges a lot of our assumptions about how things work.
It really does. So as we keep digging into this white paper, I want to hear what you all think about this Type 1 vision. Does it excite you? Scare you?
We'll be exploring all those questions and more as we go deeper into Morpheus Thinks plan. Yeah, it really stretches the imagination, doesn't it?
It does. And it's amazing how they tie all this stuff together. AI, blockchain, global governance, even the Fermi Paradox. It's one big story.
It is, isn't it? Shows how all these things we think of as separate are actually connected and how they all feed into where humanity's headed.
This whole Type 1 civilization thing,
Yeah.
it sounds straight out of sci-fi, like having complete control over our planet's resources. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is a pretty big concept to wrap your head around, but when you think about what it actually means, it becomes a little more down to earth.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. We're talking about things like being able to control the weather, potentially stopping natural disasters, optimizing how we grow food globally, stuff that seems impossible now but could become reality with advanced tech and everyone working together.
So they're saying we could actually become masters of our planet.
In a way, yes, but of course responsibly. They're not talking about exploiting resources or anything. It's about using our knowledge and technology to create a better future for everyone.
And they keep coming back to this US-UK merger as a starting point. Why do they think that's so important?
Well, they argue that if you combine the resources and the brain power of these two nations, you create this incredible innovation powerhouse. Imagine the best universities and research labs all working together towards a common goal.
So it's not just about political or economic dominance. It's about speeding up scientific progress.
Exactly. They believe this kind of collaboration could lead to breakthroughs in all sorts of fields, like medicine, energy, even space exploration.
It's kind of crazy to think what we could achieve if we stopped competing with each other so much and actually started working together.
Yeah, it's a pretty radical idea. But the potential benefits are huge. They believe it could be the key to unlocking a whole new era of human progress.
But wouldn't something like that be incredibly difficult to pull off? I mean, think about all the political and logistical hurdles.
Oh, for sure. But they believe that the potential benefits are so great that it's worth trying. They think that if we can overcome these challenges, the rewards will be immense.
So they're really banking on the idea that the desire for progress will outweigh the forces of division and inertia.
Right. They believe that humanity has a natural drive to explore and innovate, and that ultimately this drive will lead us to overcome the challenges and embrace a more collaborative future.
It's definitely a hopeful perspective.
Mm.
So assuming we do manage to pull off this global collaboration thing,
Yeah.
what kind of future do they see unfolding? What are some of the specific changes they envision?
Well, they talk a lot about the role of technology, particularly AI and blockchain. They believe these technologies have the potential to transform virtually every aspect of our lives, from how we govern ourselves to how we work and interact with each other.
And they're not shying away from the potential downsides of these technologies
Right.
either, right? I mean, we've talked about surveillance, but there are other concerns too, like AI-biased job displacement, the potential for these technologies to be used for harmful purposes.
Absolutely. They're very aware of these risks. And they stress the importance of developing ethical frameworks and safeguards to ensure that these technologies are used for good and not for harm.
So it's not just about blindly embracing technology. It's about using it wisely and responsibly.
Exactly. They believe that technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's up to us to make sure we use it in a way that benefits humanity as a whole.
It's a big responsibility, but also an exciting opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
To shape the future in a way that reflects our values and aspirations.
Definitely. They believe that we're at a pivotal moment in history and that the choices we make now will determine the course of human civilization for centuries to come.
So it's not just about technological progress, it's about moral and ethical progress as well.
Right. They believe that we need to evolve not just technologically, but also morally and ethically if we want to create a truly sustainable and flourishing future for ourselves and for future generations.
It's a lot to think about, but it's important stuff, right? I mean, we're talking about the future of humanity here.
Absolutely. It's not something we can afford to ignore.
Okay, so let's dive into some of the specifics. How do they envision this transition to a Type 1 civilization actually happening? What are the steps involved?
Well, they lay out a multi-stage roadmap that starts with establishing a strong foundation for global cooperation. They believe that this requires overcoming some of the key challenges that divide us today, such as nationalism, political polarization, and economic inequality.
Those are some pretty big hurdles. How do they propose we tackle those?
Well, they believe that education and dialogue are essential. They argue that we need to foster greater understanding and empathy between different cultures and perspectives. And they believe that technology can play a role here by connecting people from all over the world and facilitating cross-cultural exchange.
So it's about building bridges, not walls.
Exactly. They believe that we're all interconnected and that our shared humanity is more important than our differences.
That's a powerful message. But it's one thing to talk about unity and cooperation. It's another thing to actually make it happen. How do they envision translating these ideals into concrete actions?
Well, they propose a number of concrete steps, including establishing international institutions to promote cooperation and conflict resolution, investing in global education and development programs, and creating economic incentives for sustainable practices.
So it's a multifaceted approach that combines diplomacy, economics, and social change.
Right. They recognize that there's no single solution to these complex challenges. It requires a holistic approach that addresses the root causes of division and conflict.
It's a tall order, but it's also an inspiring vision, right? To imagine a future where humanity is united and working together to solve our common challenges.
It is inspiring. And they believe it's achievable. They argue that we have the technology, the resources, and the ingenuity to create a better world. It's just a matter of choosing to do so.
So it's ultimately a question of will, not whether we can, but whether we choose to.
Exactly. They believe that the future is in our hands and that we have the power to shape it for the better.
It's a powerful message and a timely one, I think. We're living at a time of great uncertainty and upheaval, but this paper offers a glimmer of hope, a vision of a future that is both possible and desirable.
It does. And it challenges us to think bigger, to imagine what we can achieve if we work together.
All right, so let's say we manage to overcome these initial hurdles and establish a solid foundation for global cooperation. What's next on their roadmap?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. They start talking about harnessing the power of emerging technologies to accelerate progress and create a truly sustainable and abundant future.
Okay, so what kind of technologies are we talking about here?
They focus on what they call fourth industrial revolution technologies, which include things like AI, blockchain, quantum computing, biotechnology, and nanotechnology. They believe that these technologies have the potential to transform virtually every aspect of our lives, from how we produce and consume energy to how we treat diseases and even how we understand the universe.
Wow, that's a pretty broad scope. So how do they see these technologies being used to create a better future?
Well, for example, they talk about using AI to develop personalized medicine and education programs, blockchain, to create more transparent and accountable governance systems, and quantum computing to solve complex scientific problems that are currently beyond our reach.
So it's about using technology to empower individuals, improve our quality of life, and advance our understanding of the world around us.
Exactly. They believe that these technologies have the potential to solve many of the world's most pressing problems and create a future of abundance and prosperity for everyone.
It's a compelling vision, but it also raises some important questions about how we manage these powerful technologies and ensure that they're used for good and not for harm.
Right, that's something they address head on. They argue that we need to develop ethical frameworks and regulations to guide the development and deployment of these technologies, and they emphasize the importance of public education and engagement to ensure that everyone has a voice in shaping the future.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the values and principles that guide its development and use.
Exactly. They believe that technology is a reflection of our values, and that if we want to create a better future, we need to start by cultivating the values of compassion, wisdom, and responsibility.
It's a powerful message,
Yeah.
and one that I think resonates deeply with a lot of people today. There's a growing sense that we need to find a more sustainable and equitable path forward, and that technology can be a part of the solution.
Yes, and they offer a roadmap for how we can get there. It's a roadmap that requires us to be bold, to think big, and to work together, but they believe that it's a roadmap worth pursuing.
It's definitely a thought-provoking vision, and one that I'm sure will spark a lot of conversation and debate. So as we continue our deep dive into this white paper, I want to encourage you, the listener, to share your thoughts and reactions. What resonates with you? What concerns you? What questions do you have?
We'll be exploring these questions and more in the next part of our deep dive, so stay tuned. They're talking about shifting to this circular economy thing, where we barely make any waste and everything gets reused or recycled.
So like closing the loop on production and consumption.
Exactly. And they're big on renewable energy, obviously, plus developing tech that can tackle climate change head on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't really say you've mastered a planet if you're wrecking the environment at the same time.
Right. It's all connected.
But man, this kind of global change, that's a huge GE lift.
Yeah.
Even if we get the tech right, getting everyone on board is a whole other challenge.
It's massive, yeah. But Morpheus thinks is pretty blunt. They say our current path, all this division and conflict and trashing the planet, it's just not sustainable.
So they're saying type 1 isn't just some nice dream. It's like
Yeah.
necessary if we want to survive long term.
Pretty much. They think we're at this make or break point in history. And the choices we make now will decide if humanity makes it or not.
Kind of heavy stuff, huh?
Mm.
But we've talked a lot about the big picture tech and governance. What about regular people? How do we fit into this type 1 world?
Well, that's where they bring in the universal basic income, the UBI.
Right, we touched on that earlier. They think it's essential as AI and automation take over more jobs.
Exactly.
Got to have a safety net, right? And they get pretty specific about how it'd work.
Okay, so spill it. What's their vision for this global UBI?
Imagine this. AI assesses everyone's needs and distributes funds automatically but fairly.
So like an AI-powered welfare system.
Kinda, but way more advanced.
Yeah.
And blockchain comes in too. It'd be the platform for managing all those transactions, ensuring it's all transparent and secure.
AI handling the distribution blockchain, keeping it honest. That's pretty futuristic. But wouldn't global UBI be a logistical nightmare?
Oh, definitely. It'd need crazy levels of coordination between countries, something we've never really seen before.
Exactly. Plus, there'd be tons of political pushback.
For sure. But Morpheus thinks as the benefits become clear,
Yeah.
And as economic inequality gets worse, the pressure to make it happen will grow.
Like people demanding a change to the system.
Exactly. Especially as more jobs get automated, they think the need for a UBI will just become too obvious to ignore.
Interesting. So it's not just some tech fix. They see it as a social and political evolution, too. Right? It's all intertwined. The tech, the economics, the way we organize ourselves as a society, it all has to shift for this type 1 thing to work.
Man, this whole paper is a wild ride. So many big ideas and potential changes. Makes my head spin a little.
It is a lot to process, isn't it? But I think that's kind of the point, to really challenge our assumptions about what's possible.
Definitely. And I got to say, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left feeling hopeful, but also kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like there's so much potential, but also so many obstacles.
I think that's a totally valid reaction. It's not like this paper lays out some easy step-by-step plan.
Right. It's more like a provocation, I guess, a way of pushing us to think differently about the future.
Exactly. And to realize that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create through the choices we make.
That's a good point. So I guess the question for all of us listening is, what kind of future do we want to create?
And are we willing to put in the work, the hard conversations, the uncomfortable changes to make it happen?
No easy answers there.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so compelling, right? This isn't just some abstract theory. It's about our lives and the world we're leaving for future generations.
Absolutely. So as we sign off, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a wild one.
It has. And to our listeners out there, keep thinking, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep pushing for the future you want to see.
Because the future is not set in stone. It's up to us to shape it.